Wow, I was told by Christine and Nadia to expect something that's mind-blowing and extravaganza. I come to Lisbon and I find that here you guys are putting the ag in swagger. So this is great. It's really something to see. And we constantly talk about these things. Geez, ag, who would have thought ag was so sexy? But it is. I mean, this is the happening thing, and this is the happening place. So it's great to be here. As Kristen said, I'm a journalist, a long time with the Wall Street Journal. A newspaper that didn't run many, up until a few years ago, didn't even run photographs in the paper. So all kind of the high technology and visuals are new to me, so bear with me as we kind of come across some of that. But outrage and inspire, that's my journalistic mantra. Outrage and inspire. Outrage. I seem to outrage easily, at least that's what people say. But I think it's a good outrage. At least I hope it's a good outrage. It's certainly a necessary outrage when you think of the state of our world. Outrage, how have we brought hunger with us into the 21st century? And shame on us for doing that, and all the things that Nicholas was showing us, and all the statistics and things. And I won't go over all of them again, but just consider all the modern advances that we have. The iPad, the iPhone, the communications things, all the apps that he was talking about. The missions to the moon, Mars missions, all the medical advances, pushing the frontier on medicine. And yet, we allow this ancient, medieval scourge of hunger and malnutrition to abide with us in the 21st century. Outrage, like hungry farmers, kind of this incredibly stupid, obscene, absurd oxymoron, hungry farmers. And I say that because I think it's the cruelest irony in Africa, maybe the cruelest irony in the world. Africa's hungriest people, the world's hungriest people, are smallholder farmers. So think about the absurdity and the idiocy and stupidity of that. People that get up every morning to grow their own crops to hopefully feed their families are the hungriest people in the world and descend into this time of profound deprivation called the hunger season every year. It's not on anybody's calendar, but it's something that regularly shows up and appears. In the United States, we have our own corollary, hungry Americans. Such an oxymoron, those two words don't go together. In the land of the richest soils, the greatest agriculture, innovation, and technology, the most efficient markets, 1 in every 5 children, it's estimated, live in food-insecure households. Hungry farmers, hungry Americans. Outrage, like my most recent outrage and kind of the new book that I'm working on, 1 in every 4 children in the world today is stunted. Stunted either physically or mentally, in terms of cognitive development, or both, and can be stunted in both cases in the same body. Stunting sentences a child to a life of underperformance and underachievement. There's economic cost to that, and these guys at the Copenhagen Consensus that Nick talked about, they're compiling all these statistics. What the cost is to the individual, to the family, to the nation, to the world. $3 trillion lost in economic trade in the world. But to me, the most damning cost is the opportunity cost. What might a stunted child have contributed to society, to all of us, were they not stunted? And it's 1 in every 4 children, 160 million kids every year, a rotating, a constant number, generation to generation. Inspire. So inspire I have a little more difficulty with because I'm a journalist, I write, and that's all I do. But you guys do. You're the inspiration. So I've come here maybe to do a little inspiring myself, I hope, but basically to draw on you to get inspiration from you, to absorb your passion, your curiosity, your creativity. So it's a great help for myself and kind of everybody else who's speaking to you to kind of learn and to draw our passion and our creativity and curiosity from you. And as Nicholas was saying, I mean, you guys are at the right time, at the right place, the right moment in time for what you're doing. You know, your talents, your innovations are so desired. You're part of this bigger picture too, because not only innovations in hunger and on the food scene, but any innovations, there are also innovations in fighting inequality and injustice. So conquering hunger, addressing our great need for ever-increasing demands for food, is also an assault on inequality and injustice. Now, I just wanted to briefly talk and introduce you to some of the folks, some of the people that you're working for, kind of a partner in all your innovations and everything that you're doing. This is Hargirso. I have the picture here. I shouldn't turn my back on you. Hargirso is the little boy, his father, Tesfaye, who's an Ethiopian farmer. Ethiopia, 2003, the midst of a horrible famine. First famine of the 21st century. 14 million people at the doorstep of starvation. Tesfaye carried his little son, Hargirso, to an emergency feeding tent, and he weighed only 27 pounds. I got there a couple of days later. He's starting to recover a little bit, but they didn't know whether he would survive or not. I kept thinking about Hargirso all the time. Kind of my outrage from this situation, so there's my outrage, but then my inspiration. What happened to Hargirso? Did he survive? 10 years later, I was back in that part of Ethiopia, tracked down Tesfaye, his father, and Hargirso. He's 15 years old now. 10 years later, he's this tall. Stunting. Stunting, a horrible, ugly word, but what does stunting mean? Hargirso, the face, the embodiment of stunting. Stunted physically. He was very excited. He was going to school. So I said, gee, can I go to school with you? That'd be great to see that. His dad says, yeah, it's just down the road a little bit. We can walk there. So we walked to school. Found Hargirso in school. Hooray! Hargirso, not only did he survive, he's in school. 15 years old, first grade. That day they were studying their alphabet. It was a combination of vowels and consonants. They were doing B, written on the board, and as he wrote in his little notebook, and he was very proud to do that, B, ba, bo, boo, bye. 15 years old. That's the stunting. That's the lost opportunity. What life will Hargirso have? What will he contribute to society? What could he have contributed to all of us? Two other folks, groups of people. This is Thurow, one of the farmers that I follow in the last hunger season book. This was at the beginning of the year when I followed them through the course of the year. It's in the midst, the depth of the hunger season. You can see how depressed, how tired, how frustrated, how hopeless she looks. She's sitting in front of her mud brick house with 3 of her children. Little David, the one in front, manifestly malnourished. The year goes by. There they are at the end of the year. A new house made of solid bricks with a metal roof on top. And now look at the family, proud, well-clothed. Little David, not malnourished anymore. It was the innovation of technology that happened in that course of the year that allowed them to go from the first shot to the second shot. And that's the story of the last hunger season. So I hope you kind of all can download that and then read about that yourself. But it was innovations in seed, soil, fertilizer, financing, markets, distribution channels, innovations that are needed on all these fronts and many more fronts that you guys are pursuing. They increased their food production tenfold in 1 year. A tremendous increase in wealth in the terms of their conditions. And so the underlying thing of all that is if these farmers succeed, if you succeed in creating the conditions for these farmers, for others in the egg system to be as productive as possible, then so might we all. I just wanted to leave you then with the words of somebody who's kind of much more inspiring than me. 25 years ago, this week, he electrified the world when he walked out of prison in South Africa, February 11th, 1990, Nelson Mandela. And inspires everybody not only by his words, but also by his actions. 15 years later, in 2005, he was speaking to a huge crowd. The masses had gathered at Trafalgar Square in London. and this is what he said. Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity, it is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made. It can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. Sometimes it falls on a generation to be great. You can be that great generation. Let your greatness blossom. That's what we're here to do this week. God bless you in all your actions. Let your greatness blossom. Please inspire us all, outrage us all, and thank you and good luck with your work.